We're gonna start dipping our toe a little bit into Moxie today, as if we haven't already started. But I'm going to show you some cool stuff that I kind of discovered. So we will just kind of do a little discovery together today. And again, I think the goal of what I'm about to show you is I'm showing you stuff that I'm finding interesting and cool about the program and what it's doing for me. And the idea is to try to to incentivize you to kind of look into it and go, okay, how can this start working for me? I know that I'm not the kind of person that sorry, I just got an email that came across and it totally just distracted. I like to be able to see my goals right in front of me, and that is one of the things that that Moxie is going to help you do too. Is put your goals right in front of you and track your performance against those goals, and do it in a way that it's visible to you every day. So it's kind of something that you cannot ignore. Okay, so who has gone through, by show of hands, the process of the initial Moxie setup where they ask you what your GCI goal is? You know what I'm talking about? And so you put in a number. Your GCI goal for the completely new and uninitiated gross commission income, how much total income you want to earn. It's not your money after you're split, it's the total commission income. So if you're $100,000 home, 3% commission, then you're looking at the numbers there. Okay. So before your splits. So you put that number in, and then the program kind of helps you to track your performance against that with what sales that you've done so far. Okay, so I'm going to do everything that I'm going to show you today. We're going to do everything within my live, no kidding, Moxie, which is a dangerous thing. Bear with me. Hopefully I don't mess anything up. All right, so stand by. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to have some fun. All righty. First off, is everybody looking at a MoxiWorks Success Portal screen? Okay, I want to just call this out, support@moxiworks.com. I hope you take that website, you put it into your bookmarks, you keep it up on your bookmarks toolbar. If you're looking, you guys are looking at my screen, Moxi right here. I've got this Moxi help is that Moxi Toolworks, support@moxiworkstoolbar.com. So this is an excellent resource if you are looking for information about Moxi Present or Moxi Engage. Each one of these has an entire drill down of topics and subjects. A lot of these have idiot-proof videos that go along with them. So just out of curiosity, we're talking about goals today. If I wanted to research in Moxi how to manage goals, and if I was looking for information about it, I can come down through here, type in one word, and I've got 3 pages worth of articles or tutorials on how to deal with your goals in your Moxi Present. Okay, so these resources are always available to you. All right, now when you get into your Moxi, the initial program, it asks you right away what your GCI goal is, and you would put that into your equation. You can go also to goals right up here on this menu bar, and you will see this screen should look familiar to you, this screen. And what this program does is it takes that dollar value that you put in. I've kind of masked mine, by the way, so that you can see it as a percentage, because I'm not going to give away everything in terms of what my goals are. But you can see I'm at 59% of my goal that I set when I started. And I can also see my closed transactions here. I have currently this year, I have 5 closed buyer transactions and 2 closed seller transactions. And I can see details about my average time to close, my average size, average sales price, my close ratio. I can see that's for buyers and sellers, and this is for all of my transactions. And I can see the details behind each one of my closed transactions. Now the question becomes, where did my closed transactions come from? Does anybody have an idea? Has anybody done this yet or looked at this yet? Is anybody practicing on your own Moxi right now and you're seeing a number in there that you didn't see before? Well, remember, Moxi is linked to your MLS. So when I went in and initially did my setup and I connected with the MLS, I had closed transactions appear right here in these details because Moxi is looking in the MLS and it's saying, how many transactions did Jay close? And if my agent ID is listed as the either the buyer's agent or the selling agent on one of those transactions, it's going to appear here. Okay. So that's kind of a cool thing, right? So you see your closed transactions. Notice I can also dive down and I can look at my active and pending. So I have one active listing that is a land listing out in Rockmart for these clients, and it's $95,000. It's an active listing. It's not under contract yet. So it's not in my closed transactions yet, but it will be when I move it through that process. I've also got one prospect, and a gentleman by the name of James Jarhead Gorman. He's a friend of mine, by the way. His name is Jarhead because he's a former Marine. And I have a listing that I'm about to put in. I haven't put a sales price in, but when I do, that sales price will show up there, and I'll show that as a pending transaction and something that's on the way. I can also look at my prospects. If I have made a prospect out of one of my clients and said, I've got a buyer client that's a prospect that's looking at 200,000, and I categorize them as a prospect in my Moxi, I'm also going to see their numbers here. And if you really wanted to get an idea, you could go to your GCI forecast and you can get an idea of any of the additional transactions that you have. So this is what you currently have closed plus any actives and pendings and prospects that you have in your pipeline. They theoretically would be adding up to there and you would get your GCI goals. And then the last tab over here under the category is your comparable average. So this column is me. I have 7 transactions at $258,000. That's pretty low, simply because I've done a lot of land listings this year for some reason. Don't ask me why. You know, you only have a couple of transactions that are $15,000 or $20,000. Doesn't take much to destroy your average transaction size. This is all the other agents in the office that are currently have their prospects and closed transactions in Moxi. And then this is actually looking at the entire MLS. So I have 7 transactions. The average agent in the MLS only has 2.6 transactions per year, and the average sales price, granted, higher than mine, but we already talked about that because of land listings. Does this make sense to everybody? Okay. Here's what's great about it. I put it in my dashboard right here. It's the first thing that I see every single morning, and I do not like that number. I'm 3/4 of the way through, and I'm only 60% towards my goal. That means I got to work extra hard. Okay. So one of the things that I suggest, you may have, I don't know if you've noticed this, but your dashboard is completely configurable. You may have your to-do list up at the top or your activity feed up at the top. I like to put my goals right up there at the top so it's staring me in the face every single morning. All right. Now let's talk about how do you get a transaction to show up here in your closed transactions if you don't have it there. Okay. So say, for example, you did a transaction and it was in Georgia MLS, but wasn't in first MLS. And you've only got your first MLS connected to your Moxi. So it doesn't show up there, but you still want to track it as a closed transaction. So I'm going to show you exactly how to go about doing that. All right. So remember, you have your people in your Moxi under your My People. Stand by as we have the spinning wheel. And here I have my database of just under 5,100 people. And for the sake of argument, we're going to be working with this person, somebody by the name of Jody Willard. I think I know her. She sounds familiar. Currently has COVID. All right, so we're just testing. We're going to kind of play around in here. I've got my client, Jody, and I have Jody in my Moxi. I have created some campaigns. I've got her on, I think, a birthday campaign and a neighborhood news campaign. She is part of my sphere of influence, so I've got her grouped as a sphere of influence. I can see all kinds of details about this particular client. I can see any emails that I've had communicated with this person that might be in my Outlook email. I can see activities and things that I have done with this client previously. Okay. But the most important thing is I want to go to the marketing plan. And say, for example, this client just called me out of nowhere and said, I'm ready to start buying. I want to buy a home. I'm looking in Woodstock for $5 million. All right. I want to create a prospect out of this person. So see the little tab at the top? I'm going to create a marketing plan, create prospects transaction. So in order for this person to be a prospect, I need to put what type of transaction they are going to be. Okay, so this is going to be a buyer client. If they already had a home that they called you about and you knew exactly which home it was, you could come in here and you can put in the MLS for a particular property. Here's 171015547. Oh my gosh, I could pull this. Does this look familiar to anybody on the call right now? Hey, this is Claire's listing. So, and it recently closed. Okay. So this is how everything is linked to the MLS. So if Jody had called me and said, I'm interested in this listing, and this was not a closed transaction, she closed this last week, but it was an active transaction, I could put it in here and it's automatically going to carry things like the sales price and everything over. Okay. What if the home was not in the MLS? Then it's simple. You toggle over to non-MLS. You may close a new construction transaction. New constructions homes often are not in the MLS, but you still may have information about that particular property. So let's just, for the sake of grins and giggles, we're going to start. I started working with this client back at the beginning of last month. They were expressed an interest in 123 Main Street in Woodstock, Georgia 30188. They told me their target price was, what did I say a minute ago? 5 million? Is that the right number of zeros? It is. If I wanted to create a search and I can enter the bedrooms and the bathrooms and things like that, I could put all of this information in, and then I hit done. And let me show you how this now steps you through. Okay. So now you have moved this client from a marketing, you're just marketing to this particular person, to now they are a prospect. And their prospect is telling me that they have a budget and I am starting to work with them. Okay. So we are now in the prospect zone, and then we want to move to the active zone, and the pending zone will become next. Okay. So let's just look for the sake of argument, with that $5 million that this client is budgeting for their sale. Remember where we were before? See, I could go to prospects and I now have this particular client. Jody's willing to pay $5 million. And this is now in my GCI forecast as a prospect. Pretty cool, right? All right, let's go back we're going to go back to Jody. Okay, Jody is in my pending or prospect zone, and when I'm in the prospecting zone, it's telling me I have 8 tasks. Schedule a meet and greet with Jody, conduct that meet and greet, create your buyer's presentation, mail your thank you note, obtain the signed listing agreement. These are the steps and the checklist of the things that you should do with this particular client when they're in your prospect zone. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, I've done all of these tasks, and you can mark them as completed. Boom, boom, boom. I've got the signed listing or the signed buyer's brokerage agreement. Okay. If I ever wanted to see the details of the prospect of the property that they were interested in, there it is. But I'm back to my tasks. I have completed all of these. I've shown my client homes. She finds one that she likes for $5 million. I put it under contract, and then I move it to the active zone because it becomes an active contract, right? Once you move this track, you cannot change it in the prospect zone. That's okay. Now it's pending. Okay, so anybody want to take a guess what that does on your goals? Instead of becoming a prospect, remember it was a prospect before, it's not a prospect anymore, but it's up here under the actives and pendings. And I now have this $5 million transaction for Jody in my pendings. Okay, one more step of the process. Bear with me as the internet is slow. Anybody got any questions while the wheels are spinning? Okay, so now I'm pending, but yet I want to, we go under contract. Okay, and we're ready to close, and we're going to close next Friday. Boom. Now I'm just waiting my 8 days to close, but now I have new tasks. Submit the contract and paperwork, disperse the contract to the to the closing attorney and everybody. A lot of this is help desk is going to do for you. But you have a whole new set of tasks that tell you the things that you could and should be doing while you're in this particular phase of the transaction. Okay. I have gone through, done my due diligence, all my contingencies are finished. I'm ready to close this transaction. Right up here at the top, I want to close the transaction. Again, it pulls up what my information was that I had it as a prospect before. I put in what my final sales price was. You know what? I didn't get the 4 million after we negotiated, or the 5 million. We ended up doing $4.9 million, and we closed today. How about that? And it ended up being 3%. You know what? No, I'm killer. I negotiated 4% commission on this deal. Continue. And now I get, congratulations, your transaction for Jody is now closed and it's been added to your GCI. You can always check out the details of this transaction in the goals section. Keep up the great work. Congratulations. All right, now y'all want to see something really fun and cool? Oh my goodness, I went from a 59% of my goal to 304% of my goal. Before today, I had 7 transactions. I now have 8 transactions. Right there's my $4.9 million 123 Main Street and that nice big fat $196,000 gross commission. I might have to go home and thank this person for being such a stellar buyer this week.
That's all we need to know. You don't need to tell us anything else.
All right. So what do y'all think? Is this kind of help you to understand the flow and the process better? Okay.
I have a question.
Bring it on. I'm ready.
So the tasks that would need to be updated, are
Yes.
they updated if they're I know they're tasking brokerment, so they have to be updated in both places.
Wow. Smart lady. Good for you. Right now, these are just tasks that are generic, if you will,
Okay.
prescribed by Moxi of generic saying these are the things that you should do. They're not the exact same steps that you would have to do in brokerment, but a future progression of things is we are going to make what's matching here with what's matching in brokerment and customize that marketing plan so that the marketing plan is exact. Instead of saying disperse the contract, email contract to help@c21connectrealty.com. That's the level of granularity that we will eventually get with this. Again, it just takes a lot of setup, and it's a lot of setup not only for you, the individual, but for us, the brokerage, and that's what we're in the process of doing. Okay. Everything that I have just showed you, though, is predicated on having your people and your contacts loaded into your Moxi. If you don't have them there, you can't do much of anything that I just showed you how to do today. All right. So if that is where you're at, I hope this has helped you to become a little bit more familiar with the process and how to navigate through the different screens and see how when you make one change, it affects somewhere else. And to me, this helped me understand the flow a whole lot better. Okay. And one of the things that I've discovered so far, it's kind of hard to break Moxi. It's got things locked down to where you can't do things that it doesn't make sense for you to do. Okay. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. I tried to steal Claire's listing a few minutes ago, and I showed it to you, and I put it in as an MLS listing. And I went to go see if it came over to my closed transactions because my MLS ID is not associated with that transaction. It didn't give me credit for it under my GCI goal. For all I know, it gave Claire credit for it. She should get the credit for it. Okay. So if any of you have watched this today and you're looking at your GCI goal and you say, my screen doesn't look like that, or I need to update mine and you need some help, that's what I'm here for. You can either book a session with me, coaching session. You can go to that support@moxiworks.com, look up goals, watch a 5-minute tutorial, and you can probably get as much out of that you can with spending 30 minutes with me. Okay. But I'm here to help. Everybody, let me know if you have any challenges, and otherwise, have a great weekend. I finished early, 7 minutes early. That never happens. Have a great day, everybody.